Hey, everybody, welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, and super excited to bring back Gabbie, the Profit Mama. Thank you so much for being back with us today on the End in Mind.
I'm so excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Of course, we always have such great conversations. And, leading off of our last episode for the listeners, I was just catching up with Gabbie a bit a few weeks ago, and it felt like it was time for an update on what's going on in your life and your business, how things have shifted. So just give us a whole rundown, but also what you do so that everybody can kind of start.
Okay, great. Let's start there. I'm Gabby. My business is called The Profit Mama. I help women and all entrepreneurs, but I specifically have a group coaching program for women to help them understand and gain some more financial education in general, but especially in our businesses on like how do we pay ourselves? How do we pay ourselves more often? How do we make sure that we're saving for taxes? How do we make sure that we're running a profitable business? How do we price our services and making sure that it's ensuring our profitable business and taking care of everything else and doing it in a way that is coming from a place of like wholeness and love and not fear and lack and scarcity. Um, and My background is I was a CPA, I was doing financial audit, I was doing professional CFO consulting, and I realized as a mom of little ones, when I started my business, my kids were 1.5 and 3.5. And I wanted to help other moms who are juggling it all. So 90% of my clients are other moms, other caretakers. But I think women in general are the default caretakers of our people. And so that is my passion to actually talk about money and to help people understand that it affects so much of our decision making, even when those decisions aren't necessarily specifically around money. Um, it affects so much of our lives. So that's what I do: money coaching, business mentorship, speaking, advocating about our money mindset and our money habits and how we get to choose to live our life and that our life belongs to us, and liberating the choices and the people that now understand there's so much more to life than money, and we get to prioritize those other things and the money follows.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I feel like in today's world right now, money is constantly talked about as well. And it can feel really intense for
Yeah.
business owners. Obviously, the world is shifting. Like, even last time we talked, it was really just fresh out of COVID. Online
Mhm.
business was booming, right? Like, people were full fledged, ready to be entrepreneurs. And now we're kind of at this tipping point where I think people gave it, right? Five, almost they're in their sixth year of being in business. And some of them are looking around like, is this still for me? Am I
Uh-huh.
loving this
Right.
grind?
Yeah.
Where's the money coming from? Just as
Uh-huh.
the economy shifts,
Right.
how do you help your clients stay grounded with all of these variables?
First of all, I love this
Yay.
question. I've I've done professional public speaking training and stuff, and they always say like you don't have to tell people you love their question. You just have to like pause. But I still love to reflect back. Like it's such a insightful and deep question because it's so relatable. Every entrepreneur has a period where they're like, am I doing the right thing? Like, is this the right decision? Am I sabotaging myself? Am I sabotaging my family's finances? Is it worth it for me to continue to push? Am I worth the time and effort to believe, to like ask others to believe in me? This is my new furry friend coming to visit. Um, can I stand here and ask others to continue to believe in me and what I'm trying to build? And I've gone through that too. And what I lead clients through is that, and I remember specifically the first time this came out of my mouth, is that we all have gifts to share. A client had asked me, when is it time to wave the right flag? And I said, is there something else pulling you? Like, is there something else that feels like, oops, that, that kitty paws, that feels more like aligned? Or is this coming from a place of fear? And she was like, no, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to help. And I don't have, some other way. And I said, we all have gifts. It doesn't matter much whether that gift gets shared through your business as a business owner, through a company as an employee, through a volunteer in a nonprofit organization, through your hobbies and giving back to your community. We have such a I love Eckhart Tolle wrote this book called A New Earth. We all know Eckhart Tolle because he wrote The Power of Now, but A New Earth really changes lives, and I suggest everybody go read it. It can be done, so it's like, when the time is right, it will hit. But he calls it identification with form. It's this attachment to the identity of entrepreneur.
Yes.
And if you can let that go and say, I am because I am, I'm not an entrepreneur. Like I am who I am, whether people call me an entrepreneur, people call me an employee, people, whatever, wherever my paycheck come from, it doesn't matter. We have worth, we have value, we have gifts, we matter, whether we're an entrepreneur or not. And I think once we redefine our definition of success and fulfillment, and we take a step back, we can see that we don't have to push so hard to prove that we have something valuable to share, that we have something valuable to give. And, like every few years I go through it too. I'm like looking on Indeed, being like, should I be adding value in a different way? Like those, those, that still lives within us, I call it the opponent. And I'm like, oh, I recognize it and be like, you're not going to trick me today. If something it lands on my step, like, sure, I'll
Yeah.
follow that. If it feels aligned, like the right next step, sure. And I'll try to figure out how to serve my clients and whatever it is. But once we let go of that attachment to what it means about us, then we have limitless possibilities, right? And there's not as much pressure of like, how do we make this work? How do I, avoid the judgment and the like, how do I mold myself into what I want others to perceive of me? Um, so if you've been working at it for 5 years, know that that is all part of your journey and is all this like adding up of lessons and skills and experience and etc. for like whatever is next. Nothing is wasted. Like that was not wasted time. It's all building towards something, if bigger, better. If it's not this, then it's something better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so good and so true. I feel like our identities, we create this version of, and then this honestly goes back to a lot of the coaching, right? In early COVID and a lot of the thought leaders that many of us learned from at that time. But I don't think we were always thinking about the long-term version. Like we've had our companies for a decent amount of time. There's no way I'm the version that I was, day one. And I would never go back to that gladly.
But I'm so glad she existed,
Exactly. Yes. So good.
right? Because she had to exist for me to get here. I have clients. I have a client who is running this beautiful, really profitable, really successful program now. But 3 years ago, when we were working together, and she was like, I need to do something different, she launched a uh, I don't know, like a small business package and it flopped. And she was like, like we experience the failures as like heartbreak and devastation and an internalization of what it means about us. And we have to work harder, make more effort in that area to flip that and be like, well, I know in 5 years, I'm going to look back and be like, obviously that didn't work because I was supposed to see that and then do this and then make the choice to do this other thing. So, like, in the moment when you feel like everything's crashing and nothing's working, you can embody that future feeling and be like, well, if I know it's all always works out when I look hindsight, right? Somebody calls it future hindsight. I love that. Collapsing time. There's so many names for it, but if you know it's all working out because the evidence of your life says that you look back on any 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20-year period of your life and you're like, it all worked out. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. I can see how it all connects. Well, why can't we just embody that when things aren't going well? Because
Yeah.
that's just a perception that we create because we have so much pressure to like be successful and like be complete and be. So I don't remember what the question was, but I'm so so passionate about the willingness to see ourselves and our progress and the slumps or this effort or the slog being in the mud. I think it was like trendy. Be comfortable with the discomfort, but it doesn't give people like the tool. Like, how do you actually be comfortable in this discomfort? How do you see that it's okay and safe to be comfortable in the discomfort? And I think when we talk about this future hindsight collapsing time, it allows you to pause. And in so many areas, in meditation, in mindfulness, in spirituality, in science, like creating that space and that pause is where magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah, they actually, I forget who said this, might be Brene Brown, but someone used to say that the magic is in between thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we always want to chase, right? Fix, find the next thing.
Do, produce.
Yeah, like action. And it's so loud and it's
Yeah.
really intense for
Right.
entrepreneurs, like constantly. I
Uh-huh.
feel this pressure. I used to wake up in the morning and literally feel like my heart pumping because of
Mm,
so much anxiety
mm,
of I would endure like that
mhm.
day, right? In 24 hours. Now I feel the complete opposite,
Right.
which is such a gift.
Yeah.
But it is like a practice, almost like
Yeah.
meditation, getting used to those minutes between thoughts or time between thoughts or this space that you're
Right.
speaking about. It's like that's actually the gift. But so
Uh-huh.
many of us just wish for the end result.
Right. It's like if you're gonna, people don't like to talk about money, people don't like to talk about dying, but like, right? None of us get out of here alive. So if we're gonna be in that, like, what are we racing towards? The thing that we're avoiding, right? And
Yeah.
so if we're always chasing, then we're never living. And if we're never living, then we're already dead, like, and I don't want to spend the time that I have already there. Like that's not the point. The point is to live. So how do I create that experience for myself? How do I curate that experience for myself? I have a speech that's called This Life Gets to Be Yours Now. And it came from this place of wanting to write a speech about money to help people change their lives, wanting to write a speech about happiness because I know how much money affects happiness. And then what was born was this integration of them both, which is which is what I do now is we have feelings and feelings drive our decisions and
Mm,
choices. And when we don't pay attention to how we're feeling, then everybody else gets to make our choices for us. Like that's actually what's happening, right? Our environment, our culture, other people, our employer, our clients, right? Like if we're doing things, feeling things like we're trying to prove, we're trying to give enough, we're trying to be enough, we're trying to make sure we're secure enough, then actually everybody else is curating, creating the reality in which we exist. But like we don't have to let it be like that. We actually have more power over our reality than people let us see.
Yeah, that's so profound. Like when we are not in the present or not living in these in between moments, we're actually relinquishing all control to the environment and the circumstances or people, as you mentioned, because then we're just constantly chasing. Like I see this everywhere in
Yeah.
social media right now, especially like in my generation. And I think that it's born out of fear, which I'm sure is what you see with a lot of your clients. Like you
Mhm.
said, the emotion can
Mhm.
drive the action.
Mhm.
How do you help your clients that are living in fear really separate from, like, yes, this is just money, it's just a construct, right?
Right.
Like it's a vehicle, but
Yeah.
it's not maybe everything that's
Right.
causing
But
this.
it's actually everything that our society tell, you know, like
Yeah.
our whole lives are at my generation, right? Was like grow up, go to college, get a good job, buy the house with the white picket fence, have a family, uh, right? Like
And
live
die.
happily ever
Yeah.
after, right?
Right, right.
And that's a chase of like that idea of happiness or that idea of a definition of a successful life or like when we I think about it like this as a flywheel almost or this journey both and it starts with education. We want to know and to be intentional about our choices. Everybody was like, you know, especially women, am I making a right choice or a wrong choice? Am I doing this the right way or the wrong way? And we can't get there. We can't take action to create what we want to create in a curated way without intention. And we can't really have intention without awareness. And we can't, it's really hard to create awareness without education.
Yeah.
And so I call this like the clarity flywheel or what I have many names. I change it all the time. Anyways, it's this structure that we start with education, which builds awareness, which creates allows us to create intention. Then we take aligned action, and then we see where we need more education, and then we right are build more awareness, and then we make more we're more intentional, and then we take the next step, and then we right it keeps going. And without action, right, the intention is just daydreaming. And without intention, the action is just autopilot, right? That's letting everybody else make your choices and basically like funnel you into a path where
Mm.
this is your life and this is what you do. And then we're too scared to like change lanes, change highways, or take the, you know, road less taken. Um, when we create education or like build education and create space with awareness. You know, I call it a choice point. It's the practice of pausing before you make a choice and asking like what's the underlying energy here? Where is this feeling coming from? Is it coming from fear, lack, void, scarcity, worry, concern, anxiety, etc.? And what I've found from my experience and from my clients' experience and from lots of other research, etc., is that when we make choices from fear, lack, scarcity, from lack, we create future chaos that we then have to deal with. And that is the loop. When we continuously are in a pattern of making the similar choices, like we look at our life and we're like, oh, that's a pattern. We talk about limiting beliefs, but we stay there because we make the same choice in different scenarios and then create that looping reality for ourselves. And it's
Yeah.
not until we, one, decide that the effort and unknown of change is less concerning than staying in the same spot, right? That cost is less than staying the same. And that's when we make a change because we feel something. But we can't get there without pain, something happening to us to make us change, or awareness in pausing and deciding to change lanes with an intentional way. And if we can make that space, if we can create that awareness and ask ourselves, where's this coming from? What's the energy behind this? Am I reacting? Because to yell, right? Like it happens everywhere. Isn't just about business. Like you could be reactive. Business could be like you're doing everything you can in your business, but it's actually your personal life that's like a shambles, right? That actually affects the energy you're bringing to your business. If, my kids are the biggest reactive place that I have, and it's an opportunity for me to transform that reactivity. Like that, I know when it comes up is my signpost that's like, this is the place. This is the place where your effort and energy should be for you to transform. The biggest tool to transform lack, fear, whatever is awareness and the knowledge that there is another option. Like there is another choice you can make, and you're allowed to make it and see what happens. Because you know what happens if you make the same choice. So, like, why not try to see what happens if you make a different choice? And, I was just having a conversation last night, and we were talking about like this this conversation about energy and intention. And so many people are stuck in the same place. So many people are stuck in the same place because of fear that if they make a change, if they leave their job, if they change something in their business, if they increase their prices, if they discontinue, if they fire clients, if, that something bad will happen. And so they keep in the same place of unease and of discontent and of just like not being happy, miserable. Misery loves company, right? If the tool I use is mindfulness and what some people call woo-woo, and yet I'm here living a life that I enjoy, that it sure is hard, but I see the hardships as opportunities, and I get to experience my life as this beautiful gift, then why wouldn't I keep using that tool? Like, isn't that the point? Isn't that what other people are chasing by doing all the external, like they're going like this, trying to change all their external, get a new job, blah, 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 right? And in actually to change the outsides, you got to change the insides.
Yeah.
So that's how we address fear.
I love it. It's so good because it really is like
It's
within
simple.
us. Yeah.
It's 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 not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah. And I think so many people resist this type of work. And this is for the
Mhm.
listeners too. Like, I would love to know your thoughts. If you have thoughts, DM me and Gabbie
Yes,
as you're listening to
please.
this, because I find in my line of work, because I worked in social media for so long, that people have like this perception, right, of the service that we provide. And most of the time, we're held at bay for that reason. And we're not able to peek into the finances or like, are these funnels even working?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember how frustrated I was when that really became apparent at the end of last year.
Mm,
And I realized, okay, it's the service, and how you mentioned like the pain of
mm,
going through that because we want to provide so much more and we're worth so much more,
right.
but
Right.
we can't like get this information in the way that I'm portraying the package. Then I realized I'm like, okay, I need to come up with a new plan here. I need to be like a fractional CMO, which is
Hmm.
what we're building now in the company. It feels so much more aligned, and I still am scared. I there's absolutely so much unknown, but like you said, it's being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Like I'm nervous. I can feel my heart rate go a little bit
Right.
as I'm like creating this new thing, but I'm also finding a lot of excitement in it.
Uh-huh.
And I find in business or in fear, when we're resisting that, it's probably resisting healing fear or looking at it. It's probably because there's something else underlining that we don't really want to look at. And
Hmm.
sometimes, as simple for me, it was like, oh my gosh, now I have to create all of these new packages instead of just going with the flow, right? As like the opportunities come. That
Right.
feels so much better for me. So, like you said, there's always solutions, but it's like always this one little thing that's maybe
Hmm.
like holding us back from figuring out
Right.
what this fear is based in.
Uh-huh. And I think it can manifest in so many different ways because fear can stop us from taking action and keep us in a holding pattern where we're like, I don't know the answer, so I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And yet, taking action and just like making a decision will get you there 10 times faster. But there's always also the flip side of I'm just going to keep doing because if I pause, then I don't feel like I'm doing enough.
Yeah.
And then I don't have the space to let the magic do its work to like show me
Mm.
what I'm not listening. And that's where I think like the simplicity, the thing that has changed my life and my business. And I've posted about this like in the last few weeks, which when I first started my business, I came from a CPA firm and then I came from a publicly traded company and then I came from doing CFO work. Like I was hesitant to talk about changing your energy, to change your numbers. Like that was hard for me. How am I going to be perceived? Now I'm like letting it fly. I'm letting the woo-woo flag, freak flag, the freaks will find me, different strokes for different folks. But what has changed me the most and my business the most is this. When I am making any decision, when I'm experiencing any feeling, I am asking myself, am I reacting to this?
Mm.
Or am I going to allow myself to respond? And like I said, this is a mindfulness technique. If you're a meditator, it's called the observing mind. We talked about the space. We have grown up making decisions to fill voids. And it could make me cry. It absolutely, like I'm a crybaby in general, but like when I think about all of my friends, all of my family members, all of my clients, all of my community, all of my old coworkers, all of my loved ones, like anybody I've ever connected with. And I think, how simple is this? If I could just show them, if I could just show them the evidence in their lives and just sh let them see that each, like I wonder if you could just play your own movie and let you see that every time you make that decision from fear because whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Some people are afraid of failure, some people are afraid of success. No matter the the thing you're afraid of, everybody has their different shit, you know? You create your future chaos. And it boils down to like, how can I respond to this? And or am I reacting? And if we can pause enough to ask ourselves that question, it seems so silly, but everything becomes more clear, easier. Your relationships become better. The money comes. And there's this phrase that's certainty beyond logic. And it's the belief that, just like the future hindsight we talked about, if I know it always works out for me, then in this space where I'm being triggered or where I'm feeling like I don't have money to pay my bills, I don't have money to pay my employees, my car got stolen, I had just got cut off in traffic, my we were trying to adopt a pet and somebody adopted one like because they showed up to the shelter 2 minutes before us, right? My kids were devastated.
Dang.
I'm like, the
Oh,
right pet won't miss us. If it's meant for us, it won't miss us.
so
If
true.
I can see that everything, no matter if it's hard and painful, is working out for me, then I can pause and not react. My husband was so angry. Like he let it fester, understandably, for like weeks. Like he saw our kids being hurt because this like cute little cat
Yeah.
wasn't ours, which we went specifically for. And this other family, right, was like, oh, we didn't even expect to adopt an animal today. And we're like, what the we came here specifically for that. But we left and he was like, how can you be so calm? How can you not be so angry? And I said, I have to believe. I have to believe that everything that is meant for us won't miss us. I have to have that certainty beyond logic, beyond what's happening right now, because I know that my hindsight's always 2020. I know that for some reason I don't have to understand how or when now, but I know that it's all working for me. And when we adopt that belief and start living it, that takes time. Like you either adopt it and see it or you go through the pain and get there, right? But if I can embody that and if so many people lived with that, then like how beautiful, how much less pain would we be inflicting on each other because we're not trying to fill voids. We like love ourselves to the point we know that everything's working out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it would be such a beautiful world, right? That we live in.
Right?
And it is one of those situations, which I'm sure is how you approach your work. It's like we have to embody these beliefs if this is what we talk about. And I
Mhm.
remember that first really struck a chord with me. I was like, that feels like even more pressure. Now it feels like such an opportunity
Mhm.
that we
Mhm.
are able to see these patterns and you can see it coming up in your family and you're able to
Right.
be that pillar, right, of
Right.
like calmness and serenity
It's
among,
not perfect, right? Nobody's
right.
perfect, and I practice it too, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're all human.
We're
Like
all human
doesn't
living this
mean we
human,
don't have
yes,
our moments,
right.
right?
But I
Yeah.
do feel like I have this like secret tool.
Yeah, that's so it really does. It feel like even hearing you describe that does feel like a superpower that you can whip out at any moment. I'll never forget the first time I had that like mirrored back to me in a client situation. And I was like, wow, I guess, in my line of work, like we can get a lot of negative feedback. And when
Mhm.
people work with previous marketers, people can get like, they take it very personally, right? They're creatives. And
Yeah.
I'm like of the mindset, like, if you don't like it, no worries. Like, it's an easy fix. Like, that's
Mhm.
something I say all the time in my work, always solution based.
Mhm.
It's no problem. And one of our clients was like, we just love how well you take negative feedback.
Right.
And I was like, what a gift that is to
Yeah,
hear, right?
right.
Like I could have been like, oh my gosh, I got negative feedback. And I was,
Right. You're coming from a giving place, right? Like you're
yeah,
coming to serve. It doesn't mean that feedback is about you. It's
yes,
like this tool that you're using to make your service better for the people you want to help, and that gets to help them better. So like, but I get it. My part of my story was being an all-star athlete, being top of my class, being involved in all the things, and then having babies and starting from the bottom and not knowing what I was doing, and then starting a business and starting from the bottom and not knowing what I was doing. And all of a sudden, I found myself in a place where I was not excelling at anything, like not having time for friends, not feeling like I was giving enough to my family. All aspects of my life felt like they had hit
yeah,
ground bottom. And, people look in and they're like, wow, you have a business, you have this beautiful house, you have a beautiful family. And like, yes. But I didn't feel like I could do anything like I could do before. And I had to build my own belief in knowing that starting from the bottom is also a gift. Like, nobody just, I went to business school. I have a master's in accounting. I taught
yeah,
accounting classes and graduate classes for accounting students. Nobody, there's no like school where you can graduate and all of a sudden you're a master at running a business. Like you got to
yeah,
go through the gauntlet. And I was listening to a podcast. I have this mentor and he explains it in this way. When you, like, let's say you go through elementary school, you're like my kids, it's K through fifth. You're in fifth grade, you're at the top. You're at the top. You're the big fish in the sea. And then you go to middle school and now you're the little fish. But you overcame so much. It's not that you lost that, right? Like it's not the weight. You didn't waste anything because you're the little fish. You elevated, but it
yeah,
doesn't feel like it,
yes,
right? Like I could not see that in the slog. Like I could not see that I had elevated and now
yeah,
got to build. And that metaphor for me, like it stays with me. We feel lack most often when we are elevating because
yeah,
we have overcome, we have all these skills, and now we get to do it again. And that's part of seeing the the hardships as opportunity, but we're not taught that.
no,
And I swear, last April 2025, I started studying under this mentor. And I had this intention. We talked about this, I think, in a few
yeah,
weeks ago. I had this intention of deepening my spirituality. I thought it would come from like a coach, a guide, whatever. And it landed in my lap, as
yes,
many manifestations do. When you look back, you're like, how could that have ever happened? And the mindset change, right? Just like we've been talking about, is so profound. In 2025, I almost quadrupled my revenue from 2024.
yeah, wow,
And everybody is like, oh my God, 2026 better be better than 2025 because we're all going through it. Sure, but it's for a reason. Like whatever you're going through, it's so that you have that experience for what is meant for you next.
yeah,
And I cannot stop talking about this. Like I wish that I could have a one-on-one, a 2-hour call with every single person I knew, but like that's not how it works. And not everybody is ready for
right,
that, right? Like everybody is on their own journey and they're going to learn in their own ways.
yeah,
And I show up now every month. I show up on social media, I do my emails, I do the things. I make the effort with the knowledge that if it's going to happen, then it's meant to happen, you know? And that changes everything and no longer feels like pressure. Like, oh my God, what do I have to say? What do I have to publish? What do I have to, send? What do I have to do? Like, I still value showing up in the marketing, in the media, in the whatever. But it's show effort without attachment.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really how you master manifesting too, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like we think that we can control the way that the money, the clients, the business is going to grow, the life, right? Like I
Right.
know so many people, like I'm getting married this year, that thought like we should have gotten married 5 years ago, right? Like we've been together for 10 years and we just repetitively said, like, we're good.
Yeah.
We're not in a rush. That's just not our fashion anyway.
Yeah.
And it felt so spacious, right? Like we gave
Yeah.
ourselves 2 years to plan the wedding.
Right.
So many people live by these constructs, as you
Uh-huh.
mentioned at the top of the episode,
Yeah.
that it just feeds this like negativity in society, honestly. Like that is the pattern. And we all
Uh-huh.
get caught up in the matrix of,
Right.
instead of just like taking a step back, like you said, as the observer, is
Mhm.
anything really wrong? Like most of the time, everything is good,
Right.
everything is happening exactly as it should.
Right.
Maybe not in the way that we thought that it would. And I feel like motherhood is, one of my best friends just had a baby. And I see this for her. She thought she would know, right? Like what her day would be like,
Yeah.
and that we would be able to do all of these things. And I'm like, I don't think that that's how it's going to go,
How it goes. I could
I
tell
love
you
her
from
so much.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And she called me the other day. She's like, this is wild. I barely have
Motherhood,
a minute.
wild experience. Talk about transformations, business ownership and motherhood, right? Like two gauntlets that will change you in ways you could never know. People try to explain it. You could never know until you do it.
Yes. And
Yeah.
every experience is so unique. It really is a lot like being a business owner.
Hmm.
She's an entrepreneur too, so she like will love this when we launch
Kudos to
this
her and
episode. Yeah,
congratulations.
it's so exciting. And like
Yeah.
what a gift, right? Like we have these opportunities to be moms and be entrepreneurs and see our
Mhm.
friends go through these situations too. It's actually so exciting.
It
Like
is.
as an observer, you don't
Right.
feel scared. Like as you mentioned, you don't feel the fear. And I really
Yeah.
wanted to drive that home for our listeners today. What would it feel like if you could just observe and not feel like every situation is like knocking you off of this roller
Yeah.
coaster and you're
Yeah.
feeling like you have no footing? Imagine what that would be like, and then call Gabbie so she can help you
Please,
make that happen.
please.
Yeah.
There is this paradox. It's like this juxtaposition where we still have to show up. Like we still
Yeah.
have to make an effort. The energy behind it is different, and so it leads to different results. And let go of control. Like let go of the worry. Like if you do it wrong, then everything blows up and you lose it all because you can't do it wrong because every choice you make is whatever outcome you get is either a lesson you needed or like it's all a next step on your path. Um, so, people sign up and do my programs and post, I like to say, you signed up to get your money coaching, your business finances in order, and you get a heck of a lot more than you get a heck of a lot more than that.
Yeah.
It's beautiful and it's fun, and I'm so lucky that it's the work I do, but it's the work I love and have finally accepted myself enough to integrate all those pieces of me to be able to give my gift in a way that I do it.
Yay. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we
I
reconnected. For the
know.
listeners, go back, listen to episode 1 with Gabbie, and then come back and listen to this. And that's what you'll all hear is really like the
Was that like 2 years ago?
I feel like
maybe
it
two
was
and a
like
half.
2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago now, which is
Crazy.
so crazy. So if you can't find the episode, just DM me. Gabbie, how can we all stay in touch with you? I also just want to give a plug for your newsletter. Gabbie's newsletter is amazing. It always makes me think, ponder life, ponder my business in a very positive way. And it helps you challenge your thoughts. So I
Yeah.
definitely recommend everyone signs up
Oh,
for that
thank
too.
you. Comes out every Friday.
Yeah.
I was just working with my VA to like move the weekend wisdom to the top, because I
Yeah.
know that everybody doesn't have even 5 minutes or maybe two and a half to like read the whole email. If you're scanning emails, like here's the nugget that I really want you to ponder and chew on or journal on or whatever. Anyways, so exciting. I'm so glad to hear it.
Of course.
Follow me on Instagram at the prophet. That's not with a PH, an F, prophet mama, MAMA, um, or Gabbie, Gabbie, at theprophetmama.com, or find my website, theprophetmama.com. Um, every so often, I like to go through my new followers and send video messages to be like, hi, I'm a real person. I'm so glad you're here. Tell me more about your business. And so many people respond. They're like, oh my God, a
You're
video.
real.
I've never gotten this before. And I'm like, I know, it's just like what I like to do. I like to be face to face and do these things. So, um, do that. Follow me. Let's connect. I do free financial clarity calls. So, no matter where you are, if you have a business, if you don't have a business, if you're 10 years into your business, if you're like 3 months into your business, let's chat. And if it's not the right time for you, I always say, I'm not in the business of convincing people to work with me because that never, right? That's a thing that creates future chaos. But
Yes.
if I have resources I can send to you, I will. If I have other people that I think you need before me, I will. Um, but I have a group coaching program. I do one-on-one, like 2-hour strategy calls. I call them PAPs. They're profit action plans. And I think it's hilarious because it's financially invasive. It's a safe place, but it's not physically invasive like our normal PAPs. And then I do one-on-one coaching and mentorship. Um, so lots of different ways. And I tried, to add value through my email, my newsletter, and social media. So um, follow me in all the places, and I hope that it helps and it gives you something to think about and changes your life in immeasurable ways.
Yes. I mean, if this conversation didn't change your life already, you know how much more, for
Right.
the listeners can come
Yeah.
their way after connecting with Gabbie. So, for all the multitasking listeners, I'll have all the links in the show notes or DM me and I will personally connect you with Gabbie as well. Thank you so much for being here. This was
Thank you,
such a great
Caitlin.
conversation.
Always so wonderful.
Yeah.
Appreciate you and everybody listening too.